In what can't possibly be good news for anybody in the White House, Christopher Steele, that former MI6 agent who prepared what's now known as the Trump-Russia blackmail dossier, he has been approached about testifying before the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee's investigation into President Trump's alleged links with Russia, as reported by The Independent. It's not hugely likely that Christopher Steele has much of an interest in coming to Washington, D.C. to testify. His friends are saying it is unlikely he would be willing to do this. It's understood that Democrats, as well as some Republicans in Congress, are prepared to facilitate some discreet initial meetings with Christopher Steele in the UK or maybe on neutral territory. He has not yet responded to requests to meet with the Senate officials, but what we learned several weeks ago is that Christopher Steele left his home, was essentially hiding his family for fear for their safety and his own. And when you have circumstances like the ones we have, the Trump administration possibly completely in bed with Russia, I don't blame Christopher Steele for his reluctance to want to come to Washington, D.C. Who knows what would happen if he stepped foot on U.S. soil?
Perhaps, yes. I mean, we'll have to see if his feeling of duty to justice, I guess,
yes,
to America will make him want to, change this decision. But that's totally his to make.
As I was reading this, it crossed my mind. I really hope that Christopher Steele doesn't end up accidentally stabbing himself in the back 10 times or falling off of a tall building or something like that, because we know that those things can sometimes happen to people that are involved in this type of thing. Trump has personally attacked Christopher Steele, saying that the report on the Kremlin connection, which was authored by him, was a, quote, fabricated work put together by a, quote, failed spy. Of course, all of that is completely bogus. Christopher Steele, a highly, highly respected former MI6 operative, he ended up leading to, or rather, I guess we could say it in a different way, Michael Flynn, Donald Trump's now former national security advisor, ended up having to resign in shame less than a month into the Donald Trump administration because he was covering up Russia connections. The brand new Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, is facing calls for his resignation because he was covering up conversations that he had with the Russian ambassador. Minnesota Senator Al Franken, as I told you earlier in the program, now saying he believes Jeff Sessions committed perjury. And Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, also had to resign during the campaign because of shady Russian connections and possibly illegal payments that he had received. A well-respected former spy puts together a dossier containing a series of very disturbing allegations about Trump's Russia connections. Many of the allegations are as yet unproven, but we've talked about it before, Pat, and we'll keep talking about it. We now have numerous details of that dossier that have been corroborated. The urine fetish stuff that was in that dossier, that's not been corroborated so far. That is true. But you can't write it off as fabricated because numerous elements of it have now been independently corroborated.
It's gotten to a point where even the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is, of course, led by Republicans and Chairman Richard Burr, they're going to have to reach out to people like Christopher Steele and actually conduct a legitimate investigation into this, because otherwise there's going to be so much political repercussions if they don't, and the American people are going to want their head.
Yeah, at a certain point, it's sort of like, listen, if you really don't have anything to hide, just allow the investigation to happen. It's the same thing with the Trump taxes. At this point, given that 3/4 of Americans want to see them, if there really wasn't anything damaging there, just let people see them and put the story to bed. The only reason you wouldn't is if you believe that it would actually backfire and make the situation even worse, which it probably would from many reasonable estimates. GameFly is sort of like Netflix for video games. They have over 8,000 new and classic games for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Wii, and a bunch of other platforms. And you can play as many games as you want for one monthly fee. And if you find some games you want to keep, you can buy them for a low used price. There's never any due dates or late fees, and our audience can get a free 30-day trial at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS. The games are shipped directly to you with return envelopes included. There's no contracts, and you can rent games through the mobile app. Get the free 30-day trial for the David Pakman Show audience and support our show by going to gameflyoffer.com/TDPS.